Hello everybody, welcome back to Maggiora Park here for the final race of the afternoon, MXGP Race 2, 30 minutes plus 2 laps. If you were watching a moment ago during MX2, you'd realise the last 2 laps we had a real downpour of rain, thunder and all kinds of stuff on what was a rapidly drying racetrack. It's hard and slick in places, and of course, as the riders go out on their sighting lap, and they are out on the sighting lap actually, a lot of the MXGP riders, maybe not all of them, the conditions are taking a turn for the worse. We do have some good sticky points like this, where you're still going to have good traction, but at the same time, we've got the first long downhill after the start, shiny and polished, and it is going to be very, very treacherous indeed. So the riders will have their work cut out trying to figure things out on the opening lap. But these guys are pros. They're the best riders in the world. They're used to dealing with this kind of weather, especially this part of the world anyway. And we'll see how it all pans out. But don't be surprised if there are 1 or 2 moments on the opening lap. Jason Thomas will be with me again during this broadcast, but before we tap in with him, let's, in a moment or two, have a quick recap as to what happened in race 1. Those highlights coming up in about a minute's time. Actually, Jason, I'll bring you in right now. Jason Thomas from Fly Racing. What we can see out of our window does not look inviting, does it?
No, it's going to be much slippier than the first moto. You know, the traction was almost at a peak going into the second moto. Get some downpour. It's really going to change the approach. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some last-minute tire changes. And really, guys have to put themselves in a different mindset as to how they're going to attack this track.
Well, the rain has eased slightly. It was a lot harder than that during the podium ceremony in MX2. Of course, we won't spoil that, the result or what happened in MX2, but it's not dampening the atmosphere amongst the fans with the flares. 1,000 of them have turned out today. Hopefully it will pass soon. But let's take a look at those highlights from MXGP Race 1. Yeah, not a great deal of passing, but the racing was close all the same. First gate drop then for MXGP, the Monster Energy MXGP of Italy here at Maggiora. And it was Romain Febvre who grabbed the first foxhole shot of the day, his second for the season. And from there, he was never really headed. Jorge Prado was right in the mix, so too the 222 of Tony Cairoli, Jeffrey Hurlings. Glenn Koldenoff was not too far back either. He was in 4th place. He was shadowed by his young rookie teammate, Ben Watson. That was a first mistake for Jeffrey Hurlings. Didn't cost him any positions, though, on the opening lap. Thomas Kjær Olsen had this moment, running into the side of Adam Sterry. Didn't score points, 22nd in the end for the Big Dane. Jeffrey Hurlings, you see him restarting there. What we missed was he'd actually got a stone jammed in the rear brake pedal, kept the brake lever down. He had to stop, free it up, and then try and get that bike fired up. That then started a bit of a resurgence for him. He carved his way up the inside of Jacoby to get himself into 9th. Meanwhile, the 2 Yamahas, Ben Watson, the lead rider in shot, almost over the bars as his teammate tried to make a move around the outside. He did eventually go through a couple of corners later. Hurlings then found his way past Watson as he moved into 7th place. And then this aggressive move on Jeremy Seewer put him up into 6th, and then eventually he went after Pauls Jonas. Made that move on the Latvian, but not before a mistake. Eventually that pass did pay off. And Hurlings then eventually did finish in 6th position. But it was Romain Febvre, Monster Energy Kawasaki, who was already celebrating long before he hit the finish line. It was his first race win of the year, his 31st career race win. And Jorge Prado came home 2nd, Cairoli 3rd, Glenn Koldenoff was 4th, Tim Geisert rounded out your top 5. So that was race 1 in MXGP. The circuit completely different. I wonder if we can get a camera shot eventually of the first downhill looking up from the first corner, just to let you know. But there's frantic action down there inside pit lane. Before we go anywhere, though, Jodie was down on the grid a few moments ago. She caught up with our winner from race 1, Romain Febvre.
So we're here with Romain Febvre ahead of race 2. Now, with the weather conditions, how much does this change for race 2 now?
Now it's wet, so it's gonna be, I think, a crazy race. But I don't care. I like the mud, so let's go.
Well, best of luck for it. Thank you. So we're ready to start with race 2.
Doesn't care. Well, the last time he won the GP here was back in 2015. Guess what? It rained, but it was raining through the night as well, so it was more of a mudder. This here, it's been dry all weekend long. That makes a big difference because the ground is already baked hard underneath, and it is already, and they've not had any practice on it at all. They've just had that one sighting lap, and everywhere you look, it's shiny, 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 and it still continues to rain. Mechanics working overtime down there in pit lane, tyre changes being dished out. Support crews running from there to the skybox to the pit lane area, but keeping a calm focus there. Number 3, Romain Febvre, as we scan the gate. There is the 41 of PJ Paul Jonas, the 128 of Ivo Monticelli, Lupino, Cairoli there, the 222, the Yamahas of Siwa and Coldenhoff, Febvre, Prado and Geiser. They are not the positions they are lining up on the gate. They will be the positions that they go to the gate, because obviously Jeffrey Hurling's on pole today, and he will go to the line first. There we go, taking off the tyre covers, and they'll lift the rear wheel just over that little bit of dirt wall there. Not really, but just talking to people yesterday, and talking to Mark Deruva today as well, and he said if it's wet, you can even use a scoop tyre here, because for the start, you know, you've got that deep ground. Here's how the riders line up as they qualified in time practice. Jason Thomas, would you run a scoop out there, or would you run more of a soft intermediate?
I think the base is too hard and too slippery for the scoop. So unfortunately, I think they're going to have to go with more of a hard pack option, just because they don't want to lose traction when they need it most.
Yeah, interesting tyre choices, where you could just do with the tyre chart right now, a la the road race series over on the other channel.
Yeah, but the rear is going to be challenging. I think the front might be even more critical here, is to make the right choice. So when you're in that braking zone, you make sure that the front's not stepping out.
Looking down on the gate then, Jeffrey Hurlings, number 84. Frustrated at not doing better than 6th in race 1, but you know what, in terms of points, it's not really that costly. He is still 3rd in the championship. He's lost a position, but you know, Romain Febvre's win obviously put him up there, but he's only 5 behind Romain Febvre, so not all lost. But Tim Geiser, Team HRC, roll-offs on the side of the goggles. What are they?
Yeah, we haven't seen that in a while, but
most of the riders obviously using laminates, but more on that in a moment. But for now, there's your winner from race 1, Romain Febvre, just making sure he's all parked and set and ready to go. Just behind the gate then, as the MXGP riders prepare for their final race of the day. The first race was held in perfect conditions. It was hard and slick, yes, but anything but the rain is what we wanted today. And well, we've got it. They said it was due. Just so happened it turned up a little bit later than planned. It should have already been stopped by now. So maybe about 3 hours later than planned. But that's good, because the circuit is pretty much preserved. We're going out on an even racetrack for everybody. But look at the hill in the background there. The Monster Energy drop down. Look how shiny that is. That is hard-packed dirt, and that is very, very slick over there. If ever you needed to start, Jason Thomas, today was the day.
Yeah, it's so cliche to say, but in a condition like this, where you're not going to be able to see well, you're not going to be able to move around the track very well, you need to get out front so you can control your own destiny.
I wonder how many people will utilize the goggle lane just in the pit lane area, even if there is one actually today. I've not seen it, because normally they have a goggle lane. Yeah, it is there, I'm told. So the goggle lane, which is obviously an area where the riders can change goggles during the race rather than doing it in pit lane. So anyway, everybody looks set. We've got a green flag at the back. Ingo Parch, our FIM race director, braving the weather in just his shirt. Green flag over here. The Fly Racing 15-second board goes up. A nice low front end for Tim Geiser's Honda. Looks lower than most, actually. Jeffrey Hurlings in gate number 1, courtesy of that gate pick option that he had after topping the timing sheets today. 5-second board goes. MXGP race 2. Wow, this one's going to be a good one. Hurlings very tentative, dropping off the mesh there on the wet metal, but around the outside. Oh, rider's going wide in the first turn, and it is a Yamaha. It's Coldenhoff in those orange boots, white and orange boots, is it? Yes, it is. So Coldenhoff pulls the foxhole shot. Where's Febvre? Your winner from race 1. So heading uphill through the first couple of corners here. There's Siwa, there's Cairoli. So as we drop downhill, expecting to kick in with our first split time, Koldenoff it is who leads the way. Everybody very, very tentative coming down that hill. That's going to get sticky if the rain stops now.
Saw Jacoby really force the issue there in the second corner, pushed Prado out, pushed Cairoli out, so put himself in a third place, but almost caused a big pileup.
Well, we know that Glenn Koldenoff can ride in the wet. Redbird, anybody? Motocross Nations, I know it was sandy that day, but we know that he doesn't mind these kind of conditions. Wonder how long it's going to be before we get water laying on the track. Well, we're already getting it there, look. So, you know, splashing on the goggles. But Koldenoff leads. Hurlings is in second place. The Dutch 1-2. Jacoby is in third. Fourth, we have Prado. Then Siwa, Cairoli, Jonas, Tonas. First split, Weber was in 11th position. Your winner from race 1. Geiser was in 14th. Simpson in 17th. And he lost his brakes in race 1 with a couple of laps to go. So it cost him a possible top 10 position.
See Cairoli get really aggressive with Prado there. Undercut him, making nice moves. He needs to get past Jacoby here really quickly and set his sights on the front. You see how tentative Hurlings is being here on the first lap. It's a great opportunity for Cairoli to move forward.
Roll-offs being pulled left, right, and center. But for this guy here, Glenn Koldenoff, he has the best advantage of all. Hurlings on the finish line now, just behind him, Jacoby. They're not, you know, they're not afraid of riding in the wet, coming from Germany, and this could be a nice breakthrough moment in MXGP for Henry Jacoby. I was talking to his team boss, Jackie Martins, at the Eurotunnel, getting ready to come home to Belgium on Sunday night after the British Grand Prix, and he said, told him just sort of like, you know, he has to be patient with his races, but then he said maybe he was too patient, so he's tried to get him to be more aggressive again, because that's how he rides, that's his style. He says he has the speed, he has the fitness, he just needs an opportunity. Is this the opportunity that Jacoby needs?
Well, as they say, mud is the great equalizer. The equipment kind of goes out the window. You don't have to worry about if maybe you're not on factory equipment, no problem. He has a great start here, a great opportunity. He's already been really aggressive, so he knows the opportunity. He's obviously trying to take advantage of it. All he has to do here is latch onto the back of Hurlings, which obviously is much more difficult than it sounds. But you see how loose he is in the air. He's clearly feeling the flow here.
Difficult racetrack will get even more challenging as the rain continues to fall here in Italy. 27 minutes plus 2 in these conditions can be a long time, can feel like an eternity, especially when you've got long off canvas like this where the ground is already hard and slick. You're waiting for it just to turn over a little bit, aren't you? The two teammates here, Cairoli and Prado, they are in, what, 4th and 5th place at the moment.
This is the most challenging conditions for your goggles. Rain and water gets behind the lens, gets behind the roll-offs. It's just a really challenging dynamic. Mud's one thing, but water and rain is a completely different thing altogether.
And Paul Jonas looking dangerous as well. Behind this rider here, number 61, he's not afraid of these adverse conditions, and I wouldn't be surprised if he also picks off a couple of positions here early on. So Jacoby out of shot there, but let's take another look at the start, shall we? Over on the right-hand side, Jeffrey Hurlings, Tim Geiser trying to get up out of the seat. Koldenoff in the middle, runs Jacoby wide. Somebody just off track there. Might have been Van Donnick or one of the Gavin Van Venrooy Yamahas, but
Watch Jacoby get aggressive here on the inside.
Just down the inside of Prado.
Yeah.
It was a move that paid off. Only Hurlings came past him around the outside on that opening lap. And as you said, not easy to latch on to Jeffrey Hurlings, but he's managing to do that is Jacoby, the second rider in shot. And at the same time, Mud, a great leveler. So AJ coming in. But someone like AJ, he's just trying to go out and get as much practice as possible. Obviously, he had that big crash last year. So anyway, there's Jacoby. Where is Koldenoff? Koldenoff 3 seconds clear at the end of that first official lap of 55.1. And already here he is. Look, he's got the whole uphill pretty much clear. Looking good.
Yeah, this is exactly what he needed to do. He's taken advantage of it. He got the start, which is critically important, but you see how aggressive he's being because he understands the opportunity. Looks back and he probably doesn't even know who's behind him. Maybe he can get a glimpse of Jeffrey Hurlings as they cross different sections of the track. But he keeps putting in pace like this and he will check out.
24.5 minutes remain. MXGP Race 2. Just looking down at the leaderboard as it stands right now. Glenn Coldenhoff would win the overall Grand Prix here with a 4th and a win if he stays there. But there are other permitting factors in and around that. Febvre is still working his way through traffic. He's only 4 points adrift of him at the moment in the overall classification. Cairoli another point further back. And then obviously, you know, time is also a factor. So we'll wait and see how this one pans out as Febvre goes around the outside. He was looking out towards the right because he was getting roosted off the rear wheel of Paul Jonas. And Febvre could still win this one as well, you know, don't forget, because he is in 7th place right now. He's got Paul Jonas ahead of him. And obviously, the more it rains, gloves are getting wet. You don't want to throw away the bike. You don't want to get mud on your hands. You don't want any of that to deal with. So these guys obviously trying to put as much effort in as they can. Actually, you know what? What was the lap times in race 1? 1:45 was the fastest lap. It's only 1:56, so it's 1:55, so it's not that much slower.
The situation I'm monitoring right now is you have Tim Geiser, your championship points leaders, in 10th.
His lead is being cut back to 5 points. He'll be on 120. Hurling's on 115 if things stay as they are. It's currently a Dutch 1-2 with Coldenhoff leading Jeffrey Hurlings. There is the number 84. Romain Febvre, bottom of the hill. Back end just a little bit out of shape, just legging his way through there and somehow managed to save it, but experience of mud riders and someone like Romain Febvre not afraid to be loose and relaxed on the bike. And obviously the thing just corrected itself. He managed to ride it out. And Paul Jonas without goggles, I believe. Here he is, just throwing the goggles, top of the hill. Yeah, just throw them off real quick. Water, mud, rain. Sometimes it's easier when it's like that, isn't it?
Yeah, you can just see a little bit better. It is tough at high speed, but man, talk about the ride from Jacoby here. This is really impressive. As I mentioned, if you can latch onto Hurlings and just do what's happening in front of him, he's been able to actually pull away from Cairoli behind him.
Well, as the rain continues to fall, Jacoby just wiping his goggle lens there as he dropped down the hill a moment ago. Just 22 minutes plus 2 laps to go. MXGP Race 2 here, the Monster Energy MXGP of Italy. Glenn Coldenhoff continues to lead, 3.7 seconds over Jeffrey Hurlings. 1:56 dead and a 1:56.1 for the two race leaders. Jacoby is still there in 3rd, hanging onto the rear wheel of Jeffrey Hurlings. Then we've got Cairoli and Prado rounding out the top 5. Treacherous conditions here, completely different to what we had in race 1. You've also got to try and be relaxed out there and not be afraid of maybe taking a risk if you have to. Brent Van Donnick, first time we've seen a glimpse of him today. He's down in 20th position as we speak. Olsen there, number 19, just tiptoeing around that inside ahead of Kevin Strybos. But riders struggling with goggles. It's going to be tear-offs on roll-offs, and then when the roll-offs fail, it's down the goggle lane, or, depending on how late you are into the race, just throwing them off altogether, as we saw Paul Jonas a moment ago. Jason Thomas, your thoughts on the circuit conditions and what you're seeing right now? You mentioned Tim Geiser. He's now in 10th place.
Looks pretty difficult. You know, it's situational with the goggles. If you are in a situation like this where you're Jeffrey Hurlings, you don't have anyone really roosting you, I think it's okay to pull your goggles. But if you are in the battle, just as we were seeing Van Donnick there, there's so much roost coming in your face you won't be able to see. It's obviously really dangerous as well. So you have to approach them, you know, each situation a little bit different.
Fight for the podium. Coldenhoff would lead it, as would win the Grand Prix, as you see there on the graphic. 43 points. Febvre on 39, and Cairoli on 38. Prado and Hurlings just off of the podium, 4th and 5th. There's only 1 or 2 points separate them, so it could change considerably over the nenext 20 minutes or so. A lot of surface water laying out there on track. Good move, by the way, parking on the road on the way in.
Well, it's interesting. You see Jacoby pushing the pace up to Hurlings, which I don't think we've said many times over the course of their careers. But also, it seems like that Hurlings has found a way to live with the pace of Coldenhoff, too. He's settled in a little bit, and the gap has come down from 6 seconds back to 3. So we'll see how that gap shapes up over the next 20 minutes or so. I wouldn't count Hurlings out for a chance to win this race, too.
Roman Fevre currently circulating in 7th. He was your winner from race 1 as we go to Tony Cairoli, currently in 4th place, the 222. His teammate just behind him. These are your top 3 in the race. Glenn Colden off top of the screen, and Jeffrey Hurlings is closing in. That's not 3.7 anymore. Looks like it's just starting to come back to Jeffrey Hurlings, or his team, or his fellow countryman is anyway. Impressive ride, though, from Henry Jacoby, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Hurlings can give an assist to Jacoby. He's pushed the pace forward a bit, because otherwise I think Hurlings would be content to ride a little bit conservatively, but he can't. Jacoby's pushing the pace. He put in a 155 that last lap. So, yeah, we'll see how this shapes up. Hopefully these guys can stay up, because we could have a great battle down the stretch with an unlikely podium rider in Henry Jacoby.
Just looking at how the track is changing with every lap. Those ruts are very long, they're deep, hard and slick before you drop into this right-hander. That bobbling in the rut there, you see, oh, mistake there from Jacoby, just tipping over a little bit as he came in, maybe just a little bit too much speed for that, and that may cost him now because he's lost that all-important toe for Jeffrey Hurlings, because and all that will do then is playing at the hands of Cairoli. Cairoli may just latch onto the rear wheel of the German.
Yeah, the big key here is for Jacoby to keep thinking forward. If he starts worrying about and thinking too much about a podium, you get inside your own head a bit. He just needs to worry about that 84 and keep that 155 pace he had. A mistake can be overcome if you turn in fast laps.
Right, 57.7, 57.0. Colden off Hurlings. The gap now just over 3 seconds. Hurlings has just started to find a rhythm in this second race with 18 minutes to go. There's Colden going by in the opposite direction, coming out of that turn. Don't think he's getting nervous, but for Glenn Colden, new brand, going from Gas to Yamaha during the off-season. His only race win last year came in the second race in Latvia when we rebooted out of lockdown. He was second in race 1, a winner in race 2, and that was his overall Grand Prix victory as well. So it's been a while since he's tasted the top step.
See Fevre here running around in 7th. Needs a few more points if he wants to take this overall victory back from Coldenhoff, but he does have a few guys right in front of him, so I'm sure he'll be getting messages from the signal area, and he's going to have to just play it situationally, but it's not over yet.
Look how polished it is when you come out of that turn, just the ground going from dark to very, very light. See riders with mud guards on, well, the hand guards, not necessarily for the mud, but for the stones around this racetrack, so obviously a double action for those guards today, because obviously it keeps a lot of the mud away from the clutch and the brake.
Yeah, it can also help guard from the rain, keep your gloves a little bit drier, give you a little bit more grip on the handlebars too.
So Fevre just looking across to his right, wants to see what's going on. There's the goggle lane entry. That's where it is, so just after the pit lane area. Albi Ferrato, the rider coming in for goggles that time around. Slight mistake there for Roman Fevre. Nothing worse than following riders as well, as you get a lot of mud on the top of the helmet there and just really pulls the helmet down, doesn't it? As Cairoli has done what we predicted a lap ago when Jacoby lost the toe from Hurlings. He's closed in on the German, and he's now pushing for 3rd place. Here's Antonio Cairoli. How will that change things in terms of the podium? Well, it will give him 2 more points and put him on to 40. He'll leapfrog Roman Fevre into 2nd position. But this one is not done by a long way. Not by a long way. I think given the rain, conditions actually aren't that bad at the moment.
Not as bad as it was. The main line's getting worked in a bit, and you can see these guys have more control. They're not making the same amount of mistakes, and I think they're just coming to terms with the track a little bit as well.
Tim Geiser in 9th. He's put 2 fastest sectors of the race. He's had a perfect lap pretty much. Green in sector 1, purple in sectors 2 and 3, which are the fastest times in those split zones, and then green again in sector 4, so another personal best. As he finds his way into 9th place, he is about a second behind Jeremy Seewer. So he will be pushing Seewer, and his lead in the championship will be 1-2-1, so 6 clear of Jeffrey Hurlings, who will leapfrog Fevre back into 2nd position. Tony Cairoli, a Grand Prix winner a week ago at Matchley Basin for the 93rd time in his career, 18-year career as a pro. Are you impressed by what you're seeing? Because I know everybody I talk to still can't believe that that guy is doing it at 36 years old.
Well, you knew he had it in him, and I think he still does have it on its day. But I'm more impressed with the consistency. We're 3 rounds in, and he's had it every single round so far. And that's really what goes first, is the ability to bring that pace week in and week out at that age, and doesn't seem to be struggling with it so far.
Jeffrey Hurlings gets a little bit of a kick there. 15 minutes plus 2 to go. He's still about 3 seconds down, though, on Glenn Koldenoff. 14.5 minutes plus 2 to go. The gap at the end of lap 6 was just over 3 seconds between Koldenoff and Hurlings. We're now at the end of lap 7. Koldenoff over the line with a 1:58.9. Hurlings follows through with a 58.6. 2.6 seconds now the gap. So it is coming down ever so slightly.
You see Hurlings give the nod to the signal board area, closing the gap down. He's starting to feel it. Get that proverbial blood in the water a little bit. We'll see how Koldenoff responds if he's able to drop the pace at all.
And he's got no goggles either, has he? He's thrown them away. Tim Geiser. So no goggle lane for him. He's just chucked the goggles, hoping for better visibility. But when you're coming up against riders like that, like Jeremy Seward, mud, stones off the rear wheel, not an easy place to be, but it's not like he's never ridden without goggles before. It's something you have to do. You learn that little trick growing up as a kid, but not ideal around here.
Yeah, and you'll see him swinging out inside, outside, trying to stay out of the roost zone from Sewer. It's just a really difficult proposition. You're going to want to either stay back or make a really quick pass. Being right in the rear wheel of that Yamaha 450 is not the place to be.
Henry Jacobi up and over the hill, a little bit short there, was he? He's still hanging on to that third place. Cairoli not getting any closer in fourth, and Jorge Prado just a couple seconds further back, so not really affecting anything that's going on here at the moment. But in fact, he's got closer to Cairoli. Look.
Yeah, Cairoli
so
dropped down.
Obviously a mistake, and there is Prado closing back in again. So
you see this yo-yo effect on the lap times. If they can stay around the 1:59, that seems where you want to be.
This will be good for Jorge Prado. So this is Geiser finding his way past Jeremy Sewer and up into 7th place. So Tim Geiser finds his way finally past Jeremy Sewer, no goggles and all, as he moves into 7th position. Tony Cairoli now under pressure from his teammate Jorge Prado after a mistake a short while ago. And that's allowed Henry Jacobi to escape up the track in 3rd position for JM Racing Honda. Jackie Martins, of course, former world champion in the 500cc category back in 1993. But Jorge Prado just trying to keep his teammate in check here. But a good recovery, Jason Thomas, for Tony Cairoli, because he started to gap Prado once again.
Yeah, nice job here. And surely he just made one mistake. I don't think he's ready to let Jacobi go by any means. Just little mistakes can really penalize you on a racetrack like right now. We see Febvre here still trying to move forward.
He's in 9th. He's made a mistake, hasn't he?
Yeah, put in a 2:02 that last lap. So we'll see what he's got here. He does have goggles on now. Maybe he stopped and got new goggles. We'll have to check into that.
Because he was in 7th position, and obviously the only... Has he been down? That's
looks like he's got new goggles on to me. That goggle strap looks awful clean.
So maybe just a mistake and a goggle change, possibly, because that's a lot of time to lose 4 positions in that little, or 3 positions maybe. Anyway, Jasikonis just cruising closest to us as the leaders come through. Koldenoff and there Hurlings. All of a sudden, 1.9, a race win under threat as Hurlings closes in on his Dutch countryman, but he would still win the Grand Prix. Would he? Well, he would lose 40. He would lose 3 points. No, Hurlings would take the overall Grand Prix victory. He would move to 40. Koldenoff would drop to 40, and it would be Hurlings that takes the overall Grand Prix victory. That'd be a turnaround.
Yeah, this is exactly what Jeffrey Hurlings needed. I don't think he expected it to come in the mud, but hey, you race what's in front of you, and he's got an overall win in the cards here.
Lost a bit of time though since we picked him up over on the far side of the circuit. That gap is going to be a 2 minute and a 2, yeah, so just over 2 seconds. Back markers coming into play. That one moved out of the way for Koldenoff as he came through the final turn. See the little rag flapping off the left side of the race pants there as Febvre just struggling here. The consistency, the flow has gone. Has he been off again? Has he tipped over? Just looks like a little bit gingy around there. So yes, he's been off. just picking himself up again. So going from bad to worse for your race 1 winner, Romain Febvre. Again, not the fairy tale return to 2015 where he won the Grand Prix here. Almost losing the front on the exit there. We've got waved yellows around the corner for a stricken rider. We're going to see this more and more often as bikes start to give out, like that one is smoking heavily there on the downside just behind Glenn Koldenoff, your race leader. Can he hang on for a race win? Can he hang on for the overall Grand Prix victory? He's got Hurlings bearing down on him. He's lost a little bit of ground. Oh, somebody down at the end of pit straight there as well. And Arno Tonis, number 4. So the Hostetler Yamaha rider came in for goggles, it looked like. Or he was trying to come in for goggles and misjudged the pit lane entrance. Doesn't look like it's the easiest place to navigate there, does it? Up onto that bank in wet conditions. So Tonis then probably losing a couple of positions in that little pit stop. But Koldenoff looking good at the moment.
Be interesting to see Hurling's approach here. You don't want to get too close because you don't want to get roosted all the way around the track, but you need to come up and make a move all at once or hang back just like he's doing. But you also want to apply pressure too, so it's a really conflicted approach. You see Cairoli finally catching back up to Jacoby after that mistake. You know, that was 3 or 4 laps ago, and he's finally closed that gap back down.
Bringing Prado with him as well. So 8.5 plus 2 to go. Henry Jacoby, 3rd at the moment for JM Honda Racing. Looks across, closes the door down on Tony Cairoli. Probably won't take too kindly for that. But the number 29 doing everything he can to stay ahead of the 9-time champ. Up into turn 1. You can see how frequently Cairoli is having to pull those roll-offs just in a short space of time, looking away as well, just to try and preserve that thin film on the top of the goggle lens. Got back markers in the mix as well, coming out this next couple of corners.
Jacoby well known for getting really aggressive here. Of course, he's going to want to protect that 3rd place, but he's also dealing with a 9-time world champion too. So be interesting to see here. And obviously, Cairoli doesn't want to slow up too much because he's got Prado closing in really quickly behind him.
Yeah, 7.5 minutes. Just keep an eye on this battle here. Just going to take a look at the lap times, the sectors, 32.9, 32.2. So 3/4 of a second gain by Hurlings on Koldenhoff that time around. Then he loses 3/10 in the next sector. So again, a little bit back and forth, yo-yoing going on between Koldenhoff and Hurlings on these laps in this late stage of the race. The overall Grand Prix is up for grabs between those 2 riders. Koldenhoff stays where he is, he wins it. But Tony Cairoli could also have an impact on it because looking to go around the outside of Jacoby here if he can. Will give him another couple of points, throws his goggles away just as he's right on the rear wheel.
He's got to get it right here.
Get lucky, but he might get filled in as well as Prado closing in. He would have seen Cairoli, his teammate, throw his goggles.
Really needed to make that pass here so he didn't need all this roost here.
Oh, almost through the front door. Don't need that either.
See how challenging this racetrack is, and I don't want to speak too soon, but you see Paul Jonas coming, and right behind him is Tim Geiser, so we could turn a 3-way battle into a 5-way battle in just a lap or 2.
And as we said before, you know, only 1.4 seconds between Koldenhoff and Hurlings as they battle for the race win and the overall Grand Prix victory. But there's still a lot of people here, a lot of riders can come into play to affect that.
You see Tony trying to stay out of the roost, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Henry Jacoby try to roost and run through mud puddles and do everything you possibly can to inhibit Tony Cairoli's vision.
Well, that's standard anyway in these conditions when you've got somebody behind you.
Well, and you can see Tony turning his head. The roost is really brutal on your eyes. And once you lose it, if you take some mud to your eyes you can't see, your race is virtually over. So it's a really critical time here.
Remember Sean Simpson at Valkenswaard as Cairoli got close to him over on the backside of a very, very wet, sandy circuit. Dumped the clutch, face full of roost. And when you're not expecting it, it's always worse. But Jacoby has a bit of an advantage now because he still has his goggles on. His pursuer doesn't look at that one line down the middle there. That's just going to be deep, getting deeper every time. And Tim Geiser coming into play as well. He has caught Paul Jonas. He's just off the bottom of our camera, just going up into the top corner now. So the rider off the back of the shot, Tim Geiser, is closing in fast. And of course, in race 1, Tim Geiser only good enough for 5th place. It's not been his weekend at the moment, but he could do with those championship points. He's extending his gap over Hurlings again at the moment as he continues to climb his way through the field. Just pick up behind these two riders here, because we've got Geiser and Jonas pretty much locked together. They were at the bottom of the hill together anyway. Cairoli not able to do anything. He's not close enough to make a pass. And we have, just looking out the window, the split times. Hurlings turned up quicker than he has. He's found his way through. So as he goes over the line, Jeffrey Hurlings has found his way past Koldenoff. Sectors 2 came up. It was Koldenoff and Hurlings. Sector 3, it was Hurlings and then Koldenoff. So there was a pass over on the far side of the circuit somewhere. And it's now Hurlings who leads. And it's Hurlings who is on 40 points, the same as Koldenoff, who will stand on the top step of the podium. Talk about redemption there for that jammed stone in the rear brake. Crucially, Jason Thomas give Hurlings 3 more points in a championship chase.
This is just what he needed going into races where he's going to feel a little bit more comfortable. He needed a confidence boost. He needed to come out. You're going to give him the GP victory with a race 2 win. That's a dangerous recipe for the rest of this field.
As it stands right now, Geiser would be on 123 points. Hurlings on 118. It was 15 before we came here.
I believe if you'd offered this situation to Hurlings on Friday, he would have signed up immediately.
He couldn't get over the tabletop there, though. The back end stepped out just on takeoff.
Where is get around Monticelli here, going a lap down. Has a little gap there. That's Ferrato right behind him, so he just needs to be consistent. 4 or 5 laps left.
Yeah, Monticelli knows what's coming and moves aside for Hurlings to go through. Well, tries to anyway. Look how slippery it is as he tries to get offline. Koldenoff has lost a bit of ground here as well, hasn't he? Because it was 2 seconds as they went over the line, and he's nowhere in shot at the moment. He's lost about 2 seconds further than that. So there he is.
You know, the key here, you see how relatively clean Jeffrey Hurlings is. Yeah. You can still see his helmet. His goggles are still working. He's pulling tear-offs. All of that helps. His gloves are still relatively dry. So it's so much easier to go fast when you're not dealing with, wet gloves and no goggles, and you can actually see where you're going. And you see in the pace, right? He's able to charge. He's aggressive coming down the hills, and all that just leads to lower lap times.
Yeah, he's taken a long look over his shoulder as well. 2.5 minutes plus 2 to go. He'll have a board signal said he's going to be about 3 or 4 seconds clear of Koldenoff. He'll just stay in that relaxed mode. He's just gave a big panic rev there. Back marker on the horizon. Thomas Kjær Olsen, new to MXGP. Welcome to MXGP, TKO. And Tim Geiser has lost a lot of time in Sector 3 compared to everybody else. So has he been off as well? He's lost about 8, 9 seconds. 10 seconds maybe.
Okay, Jonas there,
yeah,
coming
Jonas
through.
And then a rider who's a lap down, I think, one of the back markers. But yeah, so Tim Geiser has lost ground to PJ. Paul's Jonas.
Well, and Jonas lost the toe off of Prado and Cairoli too. They've gapped up a little bit ahead of them. But Cairoli's still not able to do anything with Jacoby in front of him, and you know that the goggle situation is one of the biggest variables here. Every time he gets up behind him, he just takes a face full of rocks. And Jacoby knows that. He's going to make the most of that situation too. And don't forget, Jacoby may not see another podium race finish all year, so he's got to take every possible opportunity here.
It'd be a good boost as well for the JM Honda Racing squad. Very much a satellite team for Honda. Second year now with the brand, but someone like Jacoby coming along who he believes in, that's got the speed, the talent, the fitness, the desire, the big elbows and a set of boxing gloves as and when he needs them. So this is 3rd, 4th and 5th. This is Geiser. Oh, parked on a hill. That's coming up towards the restaurant, isn't it? So difficult part of the racetrack just before the Monster Energy tabletop. Just here, actually. Oh, just before there. Hello? Jorge Prado closing in on his teammate. A goggleless Tony Cairoli is on the rocks here. And if he does find a way through, Prado will be on the podium. Cairoli will be off the podium. They're currently tied on points at the moment on 38. Teammates? What teammates?
Is that even something you're thinking about at this juncture?
Not
you're
even,
just trying to race
not
forward?
Even. You're just going for points. You're going for podiums, you're going for race wins, you're going for all of that, and obviously you pass the rider in front of you. But at the moment, Jorge Prado, his target is his teammate. And then if you can do that with 3 to go, then it'll be Henry Jacobi. But a very challenging racetrack. Still raining outside as well. Doesn't look like it so much on screen, but you can just see spits and spots here, but it is still pretty heavy rain. Cairoli being urged on.
See Cairoli with his head in an opposite direction of the track more times than not. Just doing everything he can to avoid the roost of Henry Jacobi.
Going to need mistakes like that from Jacobi if he's going to execute a pass. It looked like Jacobi used that line for the first time there and was just really gentle on the gas because it was really slick to the outside. Prado also used that line. And Jonas is in there as well. So Jonas really starting to close in and apply the pressure from behind. There he is, fourth rider in shot any moment now. There he is in the corner. Nightmare for Cairoli though. He threw off the goggles thinking he was going to find a way past Jacobi, but Jacobi stayed ahead of him. And he has really... Oh, and he's going to go for it now. He does get the drive. He finds a way to... Oh, so I thought the back end was coming around on him there. But Cairoli now up into third. And eventually, about 6 laps after it happened, we've got this for you. Jeffrey Hurlings found his way past Koldenhoff. Koldenhoff just the other side of the jump. Well, Koldenhoff's on the jump over there, out of sight, and that's Hurlings going by a back marker, actually, so not the moment that we saw the lead change then. Tony Cairoli.
That was huge for Cairoli. He doesn't have to turn his head anymore. He can actually look where he's going. And now he's got a blocker to Prado as well with Jacobi. So everything he needed to do with only 2 laps to go.
Crucially, it gives him 2 more points, keeps him on the podium. Puts him on 40. We're going to have a 3-way tie. First, second, and third. Hurlings, Koldenhoff, and Cairoli, all on the same points by the time we're done. Right. Was that Jonas? Jonas alongside Prado. I think he is. Just behind Jacobi. Yes. We've had a change. So Jonas, as they entered pit lane in the background, Jonas moves past into 5th place, and Fevre down again. So Fevre was in 10th position, just ahead of Van Horebeke. Cairoli with clear track, 2 to go. Watch this here, just out of the corner, just stayed a little bit longer, lower, closed down the door. Great move that from PJ. Are you watching, Tim Mathis? The boss man at home would have liked that for sure. So Hurlings now 7.2 seconds clear of Koldenhoff. Cairoli is third. There he is, pretty much all on his own. Give or take a couple of seconds. Well, Jacobi right there, still with him. Can't afford to blink, can he?
No, that's the last thing he wants is Jacobi to get an angle to take a shot at him. See your race leader here, Jeffrey Hurlings. Just on cruise control. Just cruise control here.
Yeah, been a perfect race for him. Stayed off the rear wheel of Koldenhoff, just get himself bedded in, kept himself clean, crucially. Goggles as well. And then when he decided to make that move, he pretty much had everything all intact. Clean goggles, clean gloves. And as a result of that, he has been able to execute that move, and he enters the final lap now with a healthy advantage over Glenn Koldenhoff, who's making his way through the final corner any moment now.
Yeah, he really executed it perfectly, and it seems unorthodox that you'd want to hang back, but until you're ready to make a pass, you really do, because you don't want to eat all that roost and be in the same situation that Tony Cairoli found himself in.
Glenn Koldenhoff, been a decent ride for him. He's going to get his first podium for Monster Energy Yamaha. He would have liked the race win, I'm sure. He would have loved to have stood on the top step of the podium even more. But you know what? Take it while you can. It's a good improvement for Glenn Koldenhoff. 17th overall at the first round, 8th overall a week ago at Matchley Basin. He's going to be 2nd overall today. Talk about making gains.
Well, we're about 3 months ahead of schedule on Glenn Koldenhoff's results here, so glad to see him back. He's, you know, just another guy that can be on the podium in a class that seems like it has endless riders that can.
Can't afford any mistakes here, TC. Jacobi breathing right down his neck.
Tony just wants this race to be over.
I think everybody wanted it to not start. So Geiser, after his mistake, is right the way back on to, here we see it, look, Geiser and Prado. In fact, Geiser has passed Prado, is now going after Jonas. Talk about urgency, well, making up for those mistakes.
Yeah, he's turned it up to an 11. I think his rear end tapped about 3 different ruts on the way down that hill.
And I wouldn't put it past Tim Geiser to find his way past a couple of riders on this final half a lap as well. That's how much he wants it. But he's got to find his way past Tim Geiser, Pauls Jonas and Henry Jacobi. Those two aren't exactly easy to make their way by either. Jacobi, Jonas, Geiser, 4th, 5th and 6th. Prado has been pushed down to 7th. Cairoli, if he looked back now, he'd be like, whoa, where did those guys come from? Meanwhile, Jeffrey Hurlings, the final jump down past pit lane. He knows he's got the race win. He knows he's got the victory as well. And for the first time this year, Jeffrey Hurlings wins the overall Grand Prix. He wins here in Italy at Maggiora. And for Jeffrey Hurlings, that is his first Grand Prix victory since Faenza last year. Tony Cairoli takes a look over his shoulder. Koldenhoff is already over the line in 2nd place. The gap between him and Hurlings was about 7 seconds. Cairoli coming through in 3rd. And Geiser and Jonas and Jacobi. Who's it going to be? Just Jonas. Jonas gets 4th on the line from Jacobi. Wow, I'm sure we probably have a rear angle shot of that because it's exactly the same move that he pulled on Prado, I think. So Jacobi losing 4th on the final lap. What an end to the race for Pauls Jonas and the standing construct gas factory rider.
Pushed him past Geiser for the 6th overall as well.
So Hurlings wins the Grand Prix, Koldenhoff 2nd, Cairoli 3rd. They all share 40 points. Does not get any closer than that. Prado misses out 4th overall, Fevra 5th, and then Jonas 6th overall today. Same as he was a week ago at Matterley Basin. Anyway, here is Jeffrey Hurlings. He's waiting to speak to Jody Hutton.
Jeffrey Hurlings, congratulations taking the overall GP victory here at Maggiora. That must feel fantastic.
I don't know what to say. After first moto, like, I got a rug between my rear brake, and you know, it's a technical sport, mechanical sport, and things like that may happen. And then I was so like damn, I really wanted to win this GP, and then I fought my way back to 6th, and the second moto everything just worked out great. And never get out with this Red Bull KTM racing team. This bike was amazing today, like keeping it safe here on this track with so much mud. So want to get it to Red Bull KTM racing once again, and thank you everyone. First GP win is in for the year.
Congratulations.
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Hurlings, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing on top of the podium for the first time this year. And he's now the only rider to finish on the podium every round so far. 2nd in Russia, 3rd in Matterley, a win here in Italy. Does it in not the easiest conditions, and of course in the easiest of circumstances as well. A stone jammed his rear brake pedal in race 1. He had to free that up, and then he showed that heart, that desire, that fight to get back. But it was a slightly different challenge in race 2. Confirmation then of the race 2 results here. Jeffrey Hurlings wins it from Glenn Koldenhoff. Tony Cairoli 3rd. Jonas 4th on the final turn from Jacobi. Geiser 6th. Prado 7th. Siwa 8th. Lupino 9th. Van Horebeke 10. And then we had Ben Watson, Romain Fevre, Kevin Strybos, Sean Simpson, good points for the SS24 KTM rider. Privateer, of course, Alvin Austin, Arno Tonis, Jimmy Clochet, the Honda SR Motor Blues rider, Brian Bogas, Thomas Kier Olsen, and Ivo Monticelli. Overall, Jeffrey Hurlings will stand on the top step for the first time this year, edging out Glenn Koldenhoff and Tony Cairoli, who all share the same points. Jorge Prado 4th, and Romain Fevre rounds out the top 5. After winning race 1, he'll be disappointed with how race 2 turned out. And the championship looks like this. Geiser on 124. Jeffrey Hurlings closes the gap. He's now on 118. Fevre 3rd. Cairoli 4th, no changes there, apart from Koldenhoff, who now climbs to 7th in the standings. And in the Manufacturers' Championship, KTM still edging out. Well, in fact, they've taken over the top spot. 134. Honda now dropped to second on 125. Very interesting Grand Prix here. In terms of two races, two different sets of conditions. We'll see the podium in a moment, but before we do, we will have the Fox Holeshot Award for this second MXGP race. And obviously, it's quite frantic. And if you ever needed a good start, it was in this second race. And obviously, you can see everybody getting ready for the podium there. Look at the state of the racetrack now. All those different lines from the weather. Some of them deeper than others. And obviously, where they'd ripped the track as well in parts, it was obviously only getting deeper. But let's take a look at the Fox Holeshot then, shall we? Koldenhoff. So Koldenhoff, with his first Fox Holeshot of the season, wasn't able to turn it into a race win, which would have gotten the overall Grand Prix victory, but he is making progress. And that's important, Jason Thomas.
Got to stay up front. Good things happen when you're up front.
Podium time, the Monster Energy MXGP of Italy here at Maggiora. And finally, the rain has dispersed. But third overall. Come detto, tutti e tre 40 punti, ma il terzo posto è per il nostro Antonio! Tony Cairoli, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, third overall here today. He'll stand on the third step with two third-place finishes. Second overall, and a fantastic return to the podium for Glenn Koldenhoff. Monster Energy Yamaha Factory MXGP congratulates Tony Cairoli as he stands on that second step. But Jeffrey Hurling's back to winning ways here. Second at round one, third a week ago in England. On the top step here at Maggiora. And Dirk Grubel will also take his position on the podium as well as winning team. Jeffrey Hurling's a winner here in 2013 in MX2, 2014 in MX2, and now again in 2021. Tony Cairoli, third overall. Another trophy for the cabinet, the bulging cabinet of Tony Cairoli. 174 podiums now for the 9-time champion. Glenn Koldenhoff on the second step of the podium. And he will cherish that one as well, especially with the new team. Jeffrey Hurling, so win number 91, finally in the books. And he does it here at Maggiora, a three-time winner now at the iconic venue for the four-time champ. And Dirk Grubel, team manager there for that particular side of the garage, hoists another trophy high on the podium. An up-and-down day for the championship leader, Tim Geiser. He'll be disappointed, but he'll be gracious in defeat today as he accepts the championship leader's red plate. The lead has been slashed. It was 15 points at the start of the day. But Mr. Antonio Elia Portella, the FIM CMS director, handing the championship leader's red plate to Team HRC's Tim Geiser. Your top three overall here today in Italy: Jeffrey Hurling, Glenn Koldenhoff, and Tony Cairoli. Jeffrey Hurlings, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, Glenn Coldenhoff, Monster Energy Yamaha Factory MXGP, and Tony Cairoli, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing. Jeffrey Hurlings, Glenn Coldenhoff, Tony Cairoli on the podium here in Italy, round 3, the Monster Energy MXGP of Italy. We will talk to those three in a moment, but what a day it's been here. What a turn of events as well, especially with the weather. But before we go any further, let's just take a quick recap of what happened in that second race. MXGP Race 2, look at the rain falling at the start of the race as they charged into turn 1. It was Glenn Coldenhoff with the coolest head of haul to collect the foxhole shot. It was closely flanked over on the right side by Henry Jacobi, who nudged Prado aside. This was Geiser going past Siwa. Fevre falling not for the first time, the winner from race 1. As the race went on, conditions started to worsen. Cairoli got impetus to close in on Jacobi. Geiser, though, who was closing in on that big battle, made a mistake and had it all to do again. He just ran out of time when the checkered flag fell. Jeffrey Hurlings, though, he was masterful in the mud. He eventually closed in on Glenn Coldenhoff as Cairoli made that move on Jacobi to nail down third place. Jonas also on the charge. Another mistake here for Romain Fevre as his race just started to get away from him. Fevre eventually came home in 12th position. Hurlings your winner, though. Coldenhoff second, Cairoli third. But it was Jeffrey Hurlings who was victorious here in the overall Grand Prix.
Jeffrey Hurlings, congratulations again at taking that top spot win at the iconic Majora.
Yeah, once again, unbelievable. First moto, I could never expect this, so I just kept charging and it paid off for today. A bit lucky, but with the mud, it's always a bit of a gamble, but super proud. And once again, I want to thank Red Bull KTM Racing for the great job. And looking forward to the next GP at home in Holland, so hopefully it's going to be a good one.
And coming in on the second spot of the podium, Glenn Coldenhoff, congratulations, taking that second overall. How did it feel out there?
Yeah, it was great, you know. Took an amazing start. My Yamaha was so fast out of the gate and managed to take the lead for quite a few laps, but halfway the moto I didn't feel that great, and Jeffrey was faster, but my first podium together with Yamaha, a new team and everything, you know, it's been amazing, and yeah, my season just started now.
Brilliant. Congratulations again. Thank you. And taking the third spot on the podium, another win on the podium for you, Tony Cairoli. It must be great to be back up there again.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be on the podium. This is a track that it's not one of my favorites, like Russia a little bit, but we managed to make it on the podium, third place. Really happy. I could push a little bit more. I had a little trouble with my goggles on the second moto. I had to throw them off after 15-20 minutes. And after that, it was impossible to follow Jacobi. I tried in the end because I want to think, you know, about the overall, but it was not enough. Everybody at the same points. But anyway, I'm really happy about the podium. This is what we had to do all the weekend.
Congratulations.
Tony Cairoli, third overall then here at Majora. In doing so, he grabs his 174th career podium on what has been a difficult second race. With the conditions, he rode much of the race without goggles. You saw the state of his red eyes, but Glenn Coldenhoff, second overall for Monster Energy Yamaha, his 20th career podium. And as he just said, his season just started now. He will, of course, look forward to Os in 2 weeks' time, his home Grand Prix. And so too will this guy, number 84, Jeffrey Hurlings. So far this season, he's finished on the podium every one of the 3 rounds, second, third, and now a win here. He will also look forward to Os, a 3-time winner now here in Italy at this venue, Majora. He closes in to within 6 points of championship leader Tim Geiser with that win today. And that is it. Jason Thomas, thanks for joining us here today. We are out of time. We will see you all in the Netherlands at Os. And we'll be there live, of course, as we always are. So thanks for watching. Thanks to Jason Thomas from Fly Racing. See you next time. Bye for now.